This is a Stromberg Carlson AU32 that I restored. I changed these jacks that were initially these Amphenol jacks into 1/4 inches for guitar. I also changed that 2.2 cathode resistor, which is 2.2 in one of the schematics, and I was getting too much gain off of that 6J5. So today what we're doing is we're going to look at another AU32 that I just got in, and you'll see how I wired the speaker jack. The thing I want to talk about today is tube amps and speakers. You'll see here I have a shorting jack. What that means is when the speaker is disconnected, the positive goes to ground. That's very important for the output transformer. So when you're installing a speaker in a tube amp, or at least a speaker jack in a tube amp, you want to wire up a shorting jack. You can see how it's wired. You got the ground lug, and then you got that little white wire connecting it to the ground lug. So right now, since there's no 1/4 inch cable plugged in, it's grounded. At least positive is grounded. You're going to see that little shunt connection right, let's see, I'll use the 1/4 inch right there. That should be connected, and I might double check that because I'm not sure if that's hitting, but there's this little nub that connects. So right now it's grounded, and you're going to see that little shunt lift. And now it's engaged. So when I disengage it, again, the output transformer's positive is grounded, which is less dangerous. And again, you don't want to run a tube amp without a speaker plugged in. So here's the one I just got in. You can see it's been capped. We'll talk about later, though, the way it's been hooked up is not really ideal in that they have a guitar jack going into the phono input, and if you look at the schematic, the phono input skips that whole first stage and goes right to the 6J5, so you lose all that gain, which is where most of the gain is. It's a double triode. So anyway, back over here. Here's the speaker. Initially, or originally, you'd use a jack like this, and you plug it into a speaker, and I have that original here, and I could do that, but I don't want that. I want a 1/4 inch input. Someone's doing their yard work. It's a beautiful day. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop in this shorting jack, right? Made a little space there. And if we opened up that socket, we could see which lug we want to go to. But if in comparing it to my other one, which I already did a little research, I know that I got one of these here. I got to double check which one of these is the ground. And then I think the orange is the 8 ohm. But I'm going to go double check that now, comparing it to the other. All right, I compared that to the other amp. And if you look, you can see this is just like an octal socket. It's got 8 pins. And I noticed that pins 2 and 8, 8 was the ground, and 2 is the 8 ohm. And you can get that off the schematic. So I'm looking over here, I can see the little indentation here, the index spot. And I can see that this is 8. This is pin 8. And this is pin 2. So that's going to be our positive, and that's going to be our negative. I'm going to wire that up right now. And I'm going to wire it up with that little wire jumping over for the shorting jack. I'll be right back. All right, after saying that you had to use a shorting jack, the one I have is actually from a Filmo Sound. And they use narrower jacks. You can see I tried to drill it out. Yeah, I gave up on that pretty fast. So anyway, I wired it up. So the 1/4 inch jack is in, and you can see the ground from pin 8, and then over here under this, you'll see this brown wire is going from pin 2 all the way down there. So that's wired up. Next thing I'm going to do is change these input jacks. Again, just to the way I wired it before with 1/4 inch guitar jacks. After a little further consideration, I'm going to go ahead and do that 3-prong jack. I just plugged it in. I was getting a hum, and over here, man, that is really loose and crackly. And that is the mains going right there. That's the AC. You see, that's a... So I'm going to rewire that. There's some screws here I can use to hook up the green wire and ground it. But yeah, I'm going to get rid of that right now. All right, I got that old cord out, and it's nice when you can manage to not mangle the retainer, so I can reuse that because it's a nice wide one that'll fit a 3-prong cable. I also wanted to mention that most of the time, when I'm building pedals, I use signal wire, so just a single cord. But I use stranded when I'm dealing with speakers because a lot of power moving through there. So stranded wire for speakers. All right, I took a cord off the back of my daughter's amplifier. It's nice and perfect width, not too wide. I'm going to cut that up and use that for our power cord. All right, here's something I just wanted to check on. Check the internet. So hot, neutral, ground. What I'm going to do, since look at this. I'm looking for black, white, and green. I got pink, blue, and green. But I can check that. I'm going to check which one's the hot, which one's the neutral. I'll do that right now. All right, if you guessed that the little pink wire was the hot, you are correct. So hot, neutral, ground, and that works out over here. Hot, neutral, ground. So those lined up, and I just checked that with the multimeter. All right, good to know. All right, that went in nicely. I was able to reinstall the cord retainer. That works nicely. And now to wire up this, it looks like it wants to go right there. I was going to put it over here. Let's see. I think I will put it right there. All right, another little retainer for the ground wire. I took off these washers. This washer, and there's another little lock washer, because I wanted to cinch up right to ground, and then I'll put those back on top. All right, that looks good. Definitely working on pedals has taught me that neatness counts. So I got rid of any old wire. Yeah, you just got to get rid of all that. You don't know what you could touch, right? Especially when you're working on tight spaces. This isn't too bad, but in a pedal, you want to get rid of anything that could touch anything. All right, so far, what have we done? We installed a speaker jack. Got to go back and put in a shorting jack though. And we replaced that 3-prong cable. Now remember, I had some hum. I doubt it's gonna be better now, but I'm gonna check it out. As I suspected, putting in that 3-prong cable really had no effect on the hum. I do get a little closer look now though at everything. And I'm definitely, what I'm gonna do first, before I even think about the hum, I plugged it in again, and I really hate that first thing is going to that phonograph. That's just a volume, and it skips right again to the J5. So what I'm going to do is, just for a quick, a quick way to hook it up, I'm just going to disconnect it here, and I'm going to plug it in over here. That goes into the first tube, so at least I'll be able to figure out what I got. I'm just going to tack in a wire. So I'm just going to move this over there and see what it sounds like. Maybe it'll get rid of the hum. Who knows? Well, as happens with these old amps, a lot of times you're working on one thing and you discover another thing. So it has intermittent power issues. What I did was I disconnected this. I don't know about this wire running from the fuse, but it could have been shorting out. It was running underneath. I'm going to run it on top now and reconnect that. And remember when I said I was getting intermittent power or whatever? Yeah, well, there you go. I tested out my other amp, the same one, and it also wasn't getting power. So let me check the speaker. Well, so intermittent power, no. The speaker had gotten disconnected from me yanking on it. Sometimes. It doesn't really get clean unless I back off. And we just add this other triode in. Okay, so now it's got a little. All right, now look at the other thing I just did. I started it up. Hey, got no power tubes in there. All right, this is the one I'm working on. As you can hear, it's got the hum and the hiss. So it's got both going for it. But I plugged it in over here into that little Amphenol adapter that I have. That was where it had been plugged in, right over here. And that's a phono jack. Remember, it was just going to the last preamp stage right before the phase inverter. So, but now check this out. This has that great crunch as well. Now the seller had said that the hum's really not that bad. It's really only when I let go of the guitar, if you notice, right? It's not that bad. They thought that the tone wasn't working, but it clearly is. It's not having a great effect, but I don't know if you noticed that, but it brightens up. I could change the tone value, but that's pretty good. So all I've done so far, you know, I besides wasting time trying to figure out why it wasn't working when the speaker wasn't plugged in, that Amphenol cable, I'm just going to replace that with a regular guitar jack. I just tested it out. And that's all I'm going to do today. I'm probably going to clean it up, come back to it a little later. Dog's got to get walked. But pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the results. And that hum is not that bad. I'm going to track it down, though. All right, it's next day. And I finished up the work on my new, to me, AU32 Stromberg Carlson. I've done a lot of work this morning between, you know, sleeping, walking the dog, having some food, thinking about it a bit. I did all the changes I thought would make a big difference. I'm sure there's more changes I could do, but let's take a look. I went in there and changed the plate load resistors to 68K. That helped lower the gain. And then I was still, I studied this for a while. I was getting some serious hum and noise. Well, I'll come back to the hum. The hiss and the crackle was solved by getting, changing out these two 100K plate load resistors. And while I was at it, that 2.2K cathode resistor was looking pretty crappy too, so I got rid of that. The biggest change, man, these 330K plate load resistors off of the 12AX7, because I was able to figure out, well, man, most of the noise is coming out off of one of those grids, either this one or that one, and I was figured out which one it was, but I just changed both of them. That made a big difference in the sound. A lot of noise reduced. The biggest change, as I studied and compared the two AU32s, though, was that grounding right here. I noticed I had an extra capacitor that was in the original when I got the amp, and I changed it out, but it wasn't in this one. Turns out they ground the filament, one half of it, and that got rid of the hum. What I did was I disconnected the other one where it was grounded, and I got the same hum that this one was producing. So I added that. That cut out, I'd say, 80% of the hum. Boom, right there. That was fun. All right, I went in there and put in grid stop resistors 39K on both, just because I had a nice 39K. I could have gone a little smaller, but those are good. Grounded that all out, put new jacks in, got rid of that old jack. I don't know how I'll fill that hole. And I double checked, man, there's some weird wiring here. I noticed over here, maybe that's the center tap for the AC. I wasn't able to trace that, but I left that alone. I noticed there was 1.7 volts of AC on there. And that's it. Like I said, I could probably go in there and keep working, but right now you can hear the amp is on. And yesterday it was humming and howling. Now it's got, I'll just turn it up, I don't have a free hand. But it is loud, loud, but that amp is on right now and it's so much quieter than it was yesterday. So AU32, I'll do some playing videos for both of these, but this one I'm gonna box up and I think it's in good shape. All right, peace. All right, it's a few days later and I'm right next to the amp. I'm whispering because it's so quiet. This thing's on. It doesn't make any sound. I got rid of all it's crazy. I've also added a master volume. So now you can get a little drive, and I've added a bright switch right here. And with this DIY modified DOD AB box, we can do channel switching between the two. So you can have one on a lower setting and you have a boost. This is crazy.